Welcome to Heal Talk Tuesdays with Liza, where transformation begins as we evoke, embrace, and evolve. Greetings, and welcome to Heal Talk Tuesdays. This is Liza. It's so good to be here with you, isn't it? Well, I am so honored and happy to share with you my featured guest today, my friend, Dr. Nelly Farnoody Zahiri. And I'd like to introduce you. And first, hi, Nelly June. All right.
Hi, Lisa
Dr.
June.
Nelly is a licensed clinical psychologist with more than 20 years experience serving the Iranian American community locally and globally. She's the executive director of the Global Education Institute and the author of Peace Parenting Essentials as an SEL parenting curriculum, a keynote speaker, and school mental health advocate for multicultural families in her community. Dr. Nelly is also the founder of Multimedia International Center for Peace Learning. And she's been not only a keynote speaker, she's done podcasts, she had her own show, and done a lot of conscious parenting. So Dr. Nelly says, what makes me is that I'm a first generation immigrant from Iran, born in Kansas and raised in California. And I like to say I was born in Iran and grew up here in California as well. So, Dr. Nelly, welcome to the Real Talk show with Liza.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. It's an honor to be on Healing Within, a live talk with you. And what important time in history to have these conversations today. So thank you. I believe this is my first talk since the women's revolution in Iran. So I'm honored to get real and pour my heart out.
Exactly. Well, for those who are not familiar, I'd like to share just a little bit. Uh, it's been 4 weeks now that the world has been witnessing this incredible courage of women, especially women from Iran, as the brutal killing, after the brutal killing of Mahsa Amini. And for those who don't know, it was on September 16, 2022, that Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman from Saqqez in Iran's province, which is the Kurdistan province, died in a Tehran hospital. 3 days earlier, she had been arrested by Iran's guidance patrol, or what we call morality police, and for wearing her hijab improperly that fell off her head. And after the beating in the car, she was beaten inside the police van and taking her to the detention center. So, in a way, the protests are different because her death has started a rally around the world, not only in Iran, as so many women have stood up and they're speaking. It's brought the people across the country together, but this time it's all the young women. And someone in the Persian radio station, Nelly June, they were saying that these are most of the girls grew up in this regime. And now it is this, the movement has become globally. I mean, we're seeing them stand up in all over the country. Nelly, let's talk about Zan Zindagi Azadi.
That's right. Women, life, freedom.
Correct.
That seems to be what the young women and men in Iran are seeking. It's hard to have a conversation about this without getting emotional. It's been really hard for me to even find courage to get on camera about this. So bear with me as I do my best to try and say my piece and to let you know what's been happening on my end, at least here in the U.S. and Los Angeles,
Right.
amongst some of my clients, families that I work with, my own family, my own daughters and son and husband, and so forth. So you're right. This uprise has been one that has touched many, many souls in many, many different profound ways. And it is a revolution. We are in the midst of one of the first women's revolution in the history of the world. And so to reflect on that, it takes a minute for women uh, all over the world, as well as men, who have been thirsty for equal rights, equality, equanimity, to be able to take those right steps towards bringing more justice, and just a continuation of the Me Too movement that we witnessed a couple years ago. I think we're seeing sort of this evolution, this full circle. Women in Iran with this very rich heritage for knowing what peace really is, because as some of your viewers are familiar with, and maybe some are not, Cyrus Cylinder is the very first Declaration of Human Rights,
Right.
which sits at the UN currently, and that's the reason why the name Cyrus is very popular around the world nowadays. And I think we honor that type of leadership when the focus of leadership is to bring equality to the people of nations. But back to women's revolution, and their intent, these young ladies, these young, brave, courageous women
Yes.
who are on the streets fighting and giving their lives fearlessly
Exactly.
is so encouraging, and at the same time heartbreaking, because these young girls, they could be my daughter. My daughter just turned 15 yesterday, and she has been asking questions about this revolution, and she wants to know, why is the government, the people who are in power to protect, to
Right.
serve, to bring peace and justice to a country, why are they killing these innocent young women who are asking for freedom
Mm,
or freedom of expression? And it's hard. It's hard to digest that, on so many different levels. I think intergenerationally, interculturally, I think as we reflect on what are the needs of the young women today in Iran, their basic needs. They just want to have options and choice to choose. Do I want to cover my head? Or do I want to wear, the hijab or not? Or can I
right.
choose not to? And that's a basic human right. I think we saw with, you know, um, the athlete who competed, the rock climber athlete.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I can't think of her name, but I saw posts on her. She decided to compete without the
Without
hijab.
the job.
Yeah. And she was greeted with such tremendous love, admiration, and respect early morning when she returned back to Iran. And so the young generation is asking the government to create space so that they can have this freedom of expression. They can have this
Voice.
this choice. So what we can do in diaspora, the women and men who are out and not fighting on the streets, is to raise awareness, to reach out to people, influential people, people in power, to make those calls. I think we come from a place in the opportunities, the liberty, democracy is vast. So if you have the option or opportunity to raise awareness, to talk, to speak, to make certain decisions that will bring more justice and peace for those who don't have a voice, can't voice their opinion, then I think it's your social duty and responsibility to do so. And so you're
Exactly.
doing this, and so are millions and millions of influencers and people in media, and a lot of people with big voices have done this continuously. So I hope it continues. I hope it's going to take over the world until those
I
young
hope
girls
so
have their
too.
freedom.
Well, for so many, we come from our heritage is Iranian. We come from that country. And for those who don't know, I mean, it's like they're surprised of how is this happening, thinking that Iran is such a repressed country, or like someone even said, I mean, this is it's not understanding our culture, that how much of the women within our country, and of course the men and everything, that are highly educated. There are so many educated women. As a matter of fact, if I recall, your mom was one of the first leaders in stepping out and uh, for the cause, and for a rally for the women's rights and everything. Was it not? Many, many years ago.
Yeah, ever since I was a young elementary school girl, I remember mom being in the front line of women's rights movement and fighting
Exactly.
for women's rights, and sometimes coming home with protests like banners and signs. So I grew up with this very courageous, brave, and strong mom who has advocated for women's rights for all my life.
Exactly.
And in a way, because of her feminism and her just laser focus, being laser focused on her feminism and her decisions and work, I was a little like turned off by
Mm,
feminism, in a sense that I thought, it was a little too extreme for my taste. Now, growing up, I went through different stages, and I have made full circle to now being one of the biggest feminists, and knowing that, okay, so just because, I like to do my hair and wear makeup, that doesn't make me an anti-feminist. Being a
exactly.
feminist means that you believe in equal rights, and you fight for equality and equanimity and justice for men and women. And
Right.
I have some of the strongest feminists in my experience have been men. My dad was a feminist. My dad was a huge feminist and fought step by step
Advocate for
alongside
women's
of my
rights.
mom. And so to see the young men today on the street today in Iran who are feminists and proud of it, and fighting for their sisters and their mothers and the rights of their girlfriends, their wives, their daughters, is, I think that's part of the biggest piece that brings me joy and hope, to see that this is not just women in the front line as my mom fought 50 years ago, but everyone who's joining force and saying enough is enough. We need to have equal rights.
Right.
And that's just, it's non-negotiable. So, and
Exactly.
people are willing to die for this. People are dying every day for this mission. So that's, I think, the new sort of take in history, this
This
women's
has become
revolution.
bigger than the Me Too movement, because now it's become globally
Yeah,
saying, I'm standing by you. I am standing with you. I
yeah.
am walking with you. It's not about me, it's us.
Yes, yes.
And the
But
us,
Lisa June, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed in the women's rights organization
I
who
was
are
just
not,
going there.
who are missing. we've had like so many protests and thousands of Iranian Americans, and some of friends from the community are joining, but the women's rights organizations, the big ones, I haven't seen any signs or any presence. Have you?
No, I have not, and that's what I was going to mention. Not only women's, I mean, Meghan Markle showed support by wearing the shirt
Yes.
"Zan Zendegi," "Zan
Azadi.
Zendegi Azadi," and in Farsi, and that was beautiful. And that in itself can be very positive or negative, but the organizations, women's rights organizations, organizations that are like e-women, Seroptimus,
Yeah.
those women, even some leaders in our community in
Yeah.
America that they say in support of a women and women's right, even they have been silent. So this silence, I don't know what it is. Is it political? Or is it because it was an Iranian and they don't want, it's like safeguarding their name? But it's, you know what?
Regardless, I think all of us who are active, I'm involved with the American Psychological Association. I think any organization, I know you're very involved with the
Right.
many organizations. So we need to push and press those envelopes and demand it, ask it to for them to press release, a letter, support online, whatever it takes, so that this becomes us and not just a smaller sector
Right.
of our community. So those are things that we can do, because many times I have some women here, or some women who are bicultural, say, well, what can we do? It's not like we can do anything. The women who are fighting, or the men who are fighting on the streets, they're the ones, and that's true, they're 100% leading this revolution. And we can also support by all these many ways of advocating and raising awareness and writing to these organizations and demanding their presence, and also invite them to future protests and rallies. I think that would be nice.
So, in a way, what we are bringing, as you're saying, is awareness. And yet, this organization is going to turn around and say, but what's in it for, I mean, well, not what's in it for me, but that's in that country. Why here? Because even the media in America, it took a long time for them to come on board or even mention it, talk about it. I mean, Berlin, we had 80,000 uh, people come into the streets in Berlin, in UK, in Europe, all over, even Middle East. They have stood up, and yet here in America, which is one of the leading countries that has is a bigger voice, and we're doing it now. Canada has started long time ago, and now Los Angeles stood up. So if we
And
want,
thank God for social media, because all it takes is people, influencers with big following,
right,
to post and repost those news clips, so that everyone
absolutely,
is aware. Because news is kind of, it's got its cycle, and sometimes it dies down, but
yes,
it's just astonishing to me. And by the way, tomorrow is the 40th Chehelome Mahsa Amini.
okay.
And so my understanding is there's going to be a huge sort of protest rally in Iran, because as Chile, or the
Of course.
40th is a big thing, right?
It's the
Event.
resurrection.
Yeah. So just to reiterate the importance, the significance of organizations just being attuned. All it takes is that attunement, so
Mm,
that we are seeing the young people, we are soothing, advocating, promoting, and supporting them, because that's all they need. They don't need a foreign government to do their work. The people of Iran are doing the work. So all they need is support. And the least we can do is to have it on every news station, every media outlet and to raise awareness that this is happening. Look, we need to see that the young women and men in Iran are done, are fed up. They want freedom, they want peace, they want a better life, they want a better future, and they're willing to die for it. They're dying every day. They're dying every day. More than several hundred youngsters. My kids' age, teenagers, are taken to prison, are beaten up, are killed.
Right.
So that's, I mean, Sharif, what happened at Sharif University, had this happened at Stanford, Harvard, MIT, any of these universities, the whole world would have been doing something about it. And so why are we not? I think those are the big questions we have to ask ourselves as the leaders of the free world.
Exactly, because this is about humanity now. It's not about what country, it's not about man, woman, or anything. Right now, this has become globally, it's about humanity. And I want to bring it back to your, not only you as a leader, not only me as a leader, or coming on social media speaking about this, because I've been mentioning this over and over. I've been sharing, I've been standing up, because a part of everything that I'm doing on the movement, the power of the she, that is going to be one of the books collaborative I'm starting, is how do I, how do we show up? How do we stand up? How do we speak up together? It's togetherness. And your book, The Peace Parenting Essentials, I think it's so essentials. The 5 C's that you're talking about children, how to bring up children, how to be a parenting. Sometimes we have to learn how to do the 5 C's within ourselves,
Yeah,
having that compassion for
correct.
each other.
It's an inside out process, Lisa. And what we know about sort of the science of attachment and secure attachment parenting, raising children who experience secure attachment and have really good mental health,
Right.
is that it is an inside out process. So you're correct. The self compassion, how I honor and respect and value the she-ness. So as women, as moms, we have this feminine power, right? And that's what these young women on the streets are connected to, because this
Mhm.
new generation is a conscious generation. They
Yes.
know, they're aware. Do you know what my daughter said to me yesterday? Was her 15th birthday,
Hi,
and we were
happy
having a
birthday.
conversation. Thank you. We were having a conversation, and she looks at me and she says, Mom, sometimes you go too deep and you're too judgy. So, this is what the new generation, and she's 100% right, right? They see things, they're honest, and they're conscious, and they act as mirrors. They're
Mm,
reflecting, this is who you are, mom. And so, as a conscious parent, you need to, or as a conscious leader, if we had conscious leadership, they would take a moment, they would pause, they would create space for these young women and men who are trying to say, we need more freedom. We
mm,
need space to show up, and we need it for our needs to be met. And that's what you do. The essence of Peace Parenting Essentials is based on conscious parenting. So what do you do in that dyadic, triadic, that bond, that relationship? You give yourself space, you work from the inside out, you honor yourself. If you can connect to your deeper, no one who has good self-compassion is able to hit someone else or beat someone else or kill someone else. So no one who has self-compassion is able to hurt another human being, because they know what it means to love. And so if you start there, if you start with that, the essence of love, compassion, what it means to show up for yourself, then in that headspace, there's no way that violence does not exist where you are cultivating kindness, compassion, self-love, self-care. I mean, you know all this. It's an
Right.
inside out process. And the number one predictor of violence is history of violence. And so all those
It's the
people,
cycle.
yeah, it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So all those people who are killing and hurting, they were probably killed. They were hurt. They are growing up in environments where there's a lot of violence. And so I have compassion for the ones who are also um, I mean, it's hard to say because how can you have compassion for a
Those who are
violent
hurting.
person, you know? But at the same time, I think if we lean into what it means to practice like real compassion is to get to the level of human suffering, right? To suffer with, and if you are able to understand the suffering of everyone, then you're cultivating deeper compassion. But it's hard, Lisa June. It's hard because the needs of people, their basic needs and their basic rights are being violated.
Right.
So it's really hard to be compassionate if your basic needs are violated. And so we got to take care of like basic needs. And we're not the only or this regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran is not the only Islamic regime in the region. So we need to look at how these other Islamic nations, including Saudi Arabia, including Dubai, including,
Middle
all
East.
these, yeah, the Middle East, right? How are they treating their women? Are they killing the women for not wearing their hijab? Are they imposing their fanatic, extreme sort of, belief system onto their people? No, they're not. And so I don't think this is a religious, battle. It's not a conversation about uh, anti-Islam or, not supporting those who believe in the religion Islam or Muslims, but rather, and maybe honestly, I've been thinking about this, that the Muslim countries honestly are the best alliances and advocates during these times because they can say, listen, like we're Muslim, we don't do this. Like we don't torture, we don't hit, we don't kill, we don't commit acts of violence. In fact, that's exactly the opposite of what Islam is. Islam is a religion of peace,
Peace.
right? So I believe also their silence right now is detrimental. These countries like Saudi Arabia and some of these Middle Eastern countries, why are they being quiet? Like let's hear. I mean, I know some women have started, with in Turkey and other
Right.
neighboring countries. There's an uprise, but let's see more. Let's see that region like blast some of these anti like um, the acts of violence basically. I can't think of the word right now.
Well, when I was about the peace learning, you talk about peace learning and how a family, how to parent, a better parenting system, the 5 C's, which is the compassion, communication, cooperation, culture, and conservative
Conservation.
conservation.
Yeah.
Um, Even when I have clients, when they come in here and they bring a child for panic and anxiety or tantrums or OCDs and everything, especially for fears and phobias, those are not normal. A child does not retrieve or go into a fear factor or have panic and anxieties for no good reason. And I usually say, I would rather see you for one session before I start working with the child because it,
Yeah,
it's
correct.
it's a domino effect of what's happening in the family, and even domestic abuse. It happens in the family because a child sees it, understands it, it happens to them, and then knowingly or unknowingly they repeat it. And this is what's happening in our country right now. I say our country because I mean, we are literally, I I'm not saying it's home. This is my home, but I was born in Iran as an Armenian. I still have allegiance not only as an Armenian, but as a Iranian, um, and American. It's realizing that the injustice that it's happening, the domestic abuse that it's happening, the
Yeah.
abusive way they are treating the women who they just want to have their right, a right of choice, a right of speech, a right of being who they are. Like when I remember from the time that I come from, everything was so modernized. The American school a block away from our house, and I would look at them. Everybody was dressed in whatever they want. And I was from the Catholic school, which we were in uniforms, and I would always stare at the kids in the American school and go, "Oh, one day I want to be just like them, dress just like them, whatever they want." So it's like not realizing we grew up very free and yet suppressed, and now the suppression has gone so far that that's where the movement, it's just like this undercurrent has moved, and it's now on an uprise for the big waves that are coming.
Yeah, and as we say here, the horse has left the farm. It's really
Mm,
like, the toothpaste is out of the the
it got
there's no
squeezed.
going back. There's no going back. Um, and I believe that a huge piece of this, it's a sexual revolution. I believe because of this global, globalization or technology, and the young generation being exposed to such diverse cultural experiences around the globe. I think that they have reached this tipping point where they want freedom. It's similar to what happened here in the 50s and 60s in the US, that sexual revolution. And then we had the 70s with the hippies movement, the peace movement, and then the 80s with AIDS and, sort of different sexual
Like
orientation.
every 10 years, every
Yeah.
decade, there is something happening.
Yeah. So I believe, we are. This is not going to be like a small thing. I believe this is vast. This is global, and it's going to hopefully lead to these young men and women experiencing more equality, as they deserve. They deserve it. They deserve to be free and to have that space to express.
I know you say listen to the children when they speak, ask them how their day has been, how they feel. I usually start with my clients. What are your three challenges of the week? And what was your three wins of the week before we start our sessions? If we want to sum up today's talk about how we can show up, stand up, speak up for one another to support, as you and I have, we may not be seeing each other throughout like every month or even few times a week, but we have established a mutually respectful friendship. We are close, 30 minutes away in distance, and yet we are in contact. It's as if I see your posts, you see my posts. What can I help? What can I do? What can we do to make our life, the families here, the women here, the children here, and allow this voice to carry like a rippling effect onto those who really, other than prayer and standing for them, what can we do? What is
So
happening tomorrow in LA, in America? Do you know where we can? If you do, will you do me a favor? Not only share over here, if there's any links, by all means, send me the links where we can go, where we can, what we can do. And then Let's write, let's move, let's stand up.
Yes, yes, yes to all of that, Lisa. Listen, you're correct that when you have a secure connection, attachment with a friend, with someone like you and I have, we've known each other for years. I trust you. Like I have a heart to heart connection with you, and I'm proud of you. You know, when I read your posts or look at your work and what you're doing and everything that you're doing, your intent is to empower. Your intent is to help with the evolution, you know, the growth, the families getting better and growing and experiencing better health and mental health and opportunities. And so all the steps that you're taking is um, just supportive of the women and men, the young women and men in Iran who are fighting for freedom. So I just want to say that because I don't want you to feel that you're not doing enough. And I think many of my colleagues and conversations I've had over the past few weeks regarding the women's revolution in Iran has been around this. Like, first, let's take a moment to look at everything that we are doing. You know,
Mm,
the focus on mental health, even raising your family. This is something I keep saying to moms, that when you decide to unplug and not see the continuous traumatic images and videos, when you decide to unplug, you're intentional about that, and you show up for your children, and you go and emotionally support your children and make sure that they're okay and they're feeling grounded and integrated and they have good mental health. That, my friend, is a positive step moving towards peace and freedom. So celebrate those small steps along the way. This is not a race, a sprint, this is a marathon. And so we have to collectively come together. I think phone calls are great. I have a lot of mom friends who have decided to actively make a few phone calls a day, and those phone calls can be anywhere from talking to a friend about this,
mm,
Zan Zendegi Azadi, talking about a protest that they were part of, sharing photos, processing emotions, learning what's happening in Iran, sharing some videos or footage from Iran when they are able to. And again, calling medias, calling organizations, associations, places who we haven't heard from, frankly, who've been silenced, to say, listen, like, is there anything you can do, or can I put you in touch with this person who can, or maybe get creative with events. I noticed a few fashion shows in Vancouver or around the world, they're doing Zendegi Azadi events. I noticed some concerts have chosen to raise Harry Styles. He held up the sign of Zendegi Azadi, and so any opportunity that you can, whether it's at your school, at work, you can take those small steps and know that by seeing these courageous women and men in Iran and what they want, their needs, by seeing them, by echoing their voices, and by taking a step towards fighting for freedom, that you're doing a good enough job. Like, that's part of living a
I
conscious
just
life.
thought of something. Maybe
Yes.
just by this post, because there are many that watch my videos and everything, my live shows that are part of different organizations. And if they would like, we can, I say, I will.
Hmm.
And maybe you in your community and everything, that if they want to have us as speaker, as a program, by all means, I would love to go and speak,
Hmm.
because a month ago for my 3E event, right before our event, they wanted to publicize it in Palm Springs and Palm Desert. And Thalia, the newscaster for NBC Palm Desert. She invited me on that show. And on that second day, this was brand new. It was brand new that what happened to Masini in Iran. And we talked about it and she talked about it. So this is so prominent.
Yes.
That tomorrow is 40 days and I can't believe that it's already 40 days. And well, may her soul be in peace and realize that this is an awful thing to say, but because of that tragedy, maybe that's what her life on this earth was, to bring this message. And this was her calling, and truly bless her soul. May God cradle her in his arms, and many others who are standing up and showing up and speaking up for this. And as a woman, and as a friend, as a sister, as a aunt, whatever, thank you, Nelly June.
Thank you, Liza June. This was a meaningful conversation, and I just want to say to the young, courageous women and men in Iran, I know that your program is in English, so hopefully, I will be doing another segment in Farsi, because I do want to speak from my heart and I do want to speak directly to you guys. But I do want to share my sort of compassion and let you know that I will not sleep. I will not stop until you guys are victorious. And I hope that victory is very nearby. So keep up the good work. And really, I'm so proud of you, young generation.
خدا حافظ شما ها.
Yes, yes. به امید پیروزی، زن، زندگی، آزادی. با شما هستیم، شما رو میبینیم. غرور بسیار عمیقی نسبت به این حرکت مهم و اساسی شما داریم و براتون آرزوی موفقیت میکنم.
Merci, Nelly June.
Merci.
Thank you so much. And all our viewers, if you have any comments, please do share. We will put links for you, and also links to get in touch with Dr. Nelly and myself. Until next week, God bless you, and may the universal light surround you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And if you like this, share it, subscribe, and go to YouTube, and you'll see the rest of all my podcasts.